Hey everybody! Let us know in the stream if you guys are able to hear us okay. So you guys are always our nice little audio check. Can you guys hear us?
Check.
Give us a little
what up?
Give us an emoji if we if we sound okay.
It's not how you pronounce it.
It's not how you pronounce emoji. Emojis. We okay? Yeah, good. Awesome.
Good? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to do some really fun stuff today, but before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Ash. I'm the community manager here for Sword Coast Legends, and I have an esteemed panel of awesome creative people that are going to be joining me today. We're going to be talking about mainly environments, but also some other fun stuff. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves just down the line, even though the names are down here and they can already kind of see what your names are, but go ahead.
I'm Josiah Mutzi. I'm an environment artist here.
Awesome.
Been working here for a while.
Awesome.
Cool. I'm Alexander Alza. I've been in space for over 8 years, and I too am an environment artist on Sword Coast Legends.
Cool.
And I'm Chris Bromby. I'm the art director on Sword Coast Legends.
Excellent. So I want to say before we get started that we were trying to find a place to mic Josiah, and we actually had the mic in his beard for a while. So it was actually, it was a nice place to put it, you know. Also, we have to do this, the fan favorite. This is our entire effects budget right here. That was good. Jeez. We practiced that beforehand, so we have our digital fire. So anyway, so we have, like I said, a fun stream this week. We're going to be doing a lot of different stuff. First thing I want to do is kind of plug things that are coming up and also our social channels. So the first thing is, if you guys aren't following us on Twitter, you should please go ahead and do that. We are at Sword Coast on Twitter. We, of course, have a Facebook page, and that is /Sword Coast on Facebook. And then, of course, you guys are already following us here, hopefully, Sword Coast Legends on Twitch TV. And we have new stuff coming out pretty much all the time. We try and do every single day of the week. Also, big push, please go to our forums. We have awesome people on our forums that are discussing the game all the time. And believe it or not, myself and all the devs are in there on a regular basis checking stuff out, and your contributions, your questions, and your comments on those forums have made a difference. I can't tell you what, but changes to the game have been made based on things that you guys have suggested. So your voice is being heard. It's really important to us. So definitely go to our forums on swordcoast.com. So other stuff that's coming up. Really cool, we have our design council, and if you are a member of the Sword Coast Design Council, and I do see some names here in the channel of people that are part of the design council, which is awesome. Our design council gives you sort of a behind-the-scenes look at Sword Coast Legends, and it also allows you to kind of chime in about your opinions. So what we're doing right now, one of the initiatives we have is actually the creation of a weapon that'll be used in Sword Coast Legends. There's different phases. One of the first phases was actually coming up with what kind of weapon that they wanted to build, and they decided that as a group that they wanted to build a sword. And then they decided, well, what kind of properties did they want it to have? And then they decided as a group, well, they want it to be a psychic sword. And now what they're doing, for those of you who like to write and are creative, they're actually coming up with the name of the sword and the background history of the sword. And so once that's all voted on and the design council is done, the sword will actually be built and placed into the game to be found. They don't get copies of the swords. They don't get like free psychic swords or anything like that. But the sword will be able to be found in the game, and it'll be say designed by the design council. So we're gonna be doing lots of those in there. And one of the big things that they also did was they actually voted on the pose of the Belhifet statue. So if you look at the higher tier packages for the game, you'll see that one of them comes with a really awesome statue. So we'll talk to Adam, who sculpted the statue today, but they actually chose how the statue would look when it's finally put into production, which I can say is going into production right now because pose number 3 won. So we'll actually look at the sculpting of the statue today, and you'll get to talk or listen rather to Adam and how he put it all together. So what else? I have written on my notes here hints of what's to come. I've been kind of putting the schedule together. I can't tell you everything that we're doing, but I can tell you that between now and the next couple months, we're going to be streaming pretty much every week, and there's going to be new stuff coming out every week. On this stream, we're going to be showing off environments that haven't been seen before, so you're going to see some areas of the game that we have not really released to the public yet.
Yeah,
so
haven't seen trailers or anything yet.
Yeah, you haven't seen them in trailers. It's the first time you'll see them, and of course we have the guys here that made them, which is super cool. So we'll get to hear about how they constructed them and all the cool things that they did. I'm going to learn a lot too because I don't build worlds. I just, play video games and gawk at them. So it'll be cool for me to learn some stuff. And, then at the end we'll see, what's going on and we'll go from there. Okay? So let's dive into it. What do you say? You guys ready? Woo! You guys ready for some stuff?
So pumped.
All right. So here we go. Oh, let me get this all queued up. I forgot to.
That's not how we rehearsed
This
it.
is not how we rehearsed it. Okay, so we're going to show some screens. Like I said, we have a lot, guys, a lot of screens to go through here. So give me a second to get everything all queued. All right. So you guys are seeing our beautiful screens. So this is something we kind of showed briefly in one of our trailers, but this is, I'll give a little bit of a hint away here. This is actually a player character that's been created, and this is a halfling rogue that I created. My old roommate used to have a character named Pilks, and so one of the things I like to do when I test the game is I always make friends characters and run around with them. So this is a halfling rogue named Pilks, and he's staring over a nice little cliff here. What can you guys tell me about this? What's special about this one?
Well, I did a lot of what you see here. It's always a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
But in games and in real life, I'm a big fan of vistas, big open areas, areas you can just kind of chill out and enjoy the environment when you're not killing stuff. So
it's pretty awesome. I mean, like, one of the things I did, I captured all these screens, then I ran them by Chris to make sure that they were all good to go. But I found a lot of really pretty areas and a lot of different areas. But this one really stood out to me because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different levels. The waves are kind of crashing in the background. There's a stream. There's some cliffs. How long does something like this typically take you to create? Like, how would, like, this particular scene, how long would it take you to put together?
Well, first we just we kind of lay out just the basic normal shapes. Then once we have that all finalized, we have the kind of the areas where we're happy with. Okay, you walk over here. We're happy with the paths basically in the different sections. Mm-hmm. Then we go back, start adding all the rocks, all the trees, all the crazy tiny detail.
Awesome.
So probably for that, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks, it kind of gets
a long time, especially when stuff's moving around in the background. Yeah. I see some jokes in the channel saying, "Ooh, rocks and trees confirmed." Yes, we can finally say rocks and trees are confirmed.
But what kind of trees?
What kind of trees? Right. Douglas firs, my absolute favorite. They are confirmed. I just want to say, you guys have been incredibly patient. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff that we're dying to show you, but we're not going to show you stuff that is not complete because it leads to more problems. So what we're going to do is show you stuff that is complete, and as time progresses and as the game gets closer to when it eventually comes out, you'll be seeing more and more, likely on a weekly basis. So just really, I know I'm asking a lot for you guys to be patient, but stuff is coming, and it's going to be super cool when you see it. So.
And everything that you have seen, obviously this is all development build, so as we progress towards the end of the game and it gets ready to get in your hands, we're constantly updating these things and making them look as good as they can, and as we plug in the remaining pieces, so just keep that in mind. They all look great, but
I see they're actually very funny. I see shadows confirmed, characters confirmed, crates confirmed. Oh, and then someone made a joke about. No, I don't want to say it, but yes, think of the dog. Poor dog. All right, so let's move on to more images. This one I lovingly referred to as the Bone Cave.
Ooh.
I mean, this is one of those examples of, we've got very large surface areas, and like you're seeing small pieces of them, but I mean, this is an exploration game, so you can walk around. There's what Josiah was referring to earlier is like we white box out this area, but it's actually a pretty expansive area that you can walk around and explore. So this is an example of one of those little areas you might find off the beaten path, and it might take you somewhere cool.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do while I'm testing and exploring is finding little spots like this. I played the game quite a lot, and I honestly had not really discovered this spot yet until I was cruising around looking for screenshots, and then I discovered that this leads to a dungeon that I hadn't seen yet. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in this game, and you can just see the level of detail that these guys put into environments like this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and what the screenshot doesn't capture is all like when the wheel builders are making these, there's all this small detail that they have control over. So if we want these trees to move, there's all this ambient movement in the environment and the fog's moving through, and it's all great little details. That
Sometimes forest creatures as well, just
Yes.
kind of running around.
Forest creatures confirmed.
yeah,
Should I have said that?
No, you're good. You're
okay,
fine.
all right.
The hook's gonna come. We joke about the hook. So this is I like this one because it's kind of showing that there are a lot of man-made structures to be discovered in the game as well. You can definitely see that this is work in progress, a WIP. These guys have no hair,
Yep.
so they
That
are
happens.
an army of bald men guarding a structure.
yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
But the thing that I really liked about
Yeah, it's okay.
the thing I liked about this one is, when you guys finally see this in motion, you'll see that the babbling brook is a babbling,
Yeah.
and there's a lot going on in the environment, a lot of ambient action happening, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So
Our audio guy loves to go through and find all these areas too, and add the nice 3D sounds. So when you go through, you hear the babbling brook babbling. What is it saying?
I know. What exactly is it saying? There's like an earthquake going on in the other room. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
What's going on? So if we disappear, something nefarious happened to us. All right. So this one, what can we say about this?
So we travel a lot of different places in the Sword Coast in the world of Faerun, and this is one of those areas as we travel towards the Underdark that you would come across. This is actually like a large forest area out around the Evermoors region.
Yeah.
So this Josiah was the artist on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're kind of looking down from a higher location, down some cliffs, just into a bog, swamp sort of an area. And In Space is located in Florida, if you didn't know.
Yeah, we are.
And
This is what it looks like outside.
yeah, it really does. I go bike riding maybe twice a week, like on a mountain bike through Florida swamp. So that's part of the inspiration for some of these visuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who are Dungeons and Dragons fans, which I think a lot of people are in here, you guys probably know the Evermoors and the area surrounding the Evermoors are a not so friendly place. So you'll probably see some not so friendly things when you guys eventually make your way into this area, which will be showing off pretty soon.
Yeah.
All right, this one I really liked because it just I could tell that a lot of time went into making this look a very specific way. To me, as a history nerd, I immediately thought of Stonehenge and immediately thought of just something ancient that had collapsed and was no longer there. So what was sort of your inspiration for creating like an environment like this for the players to discover?
I, like in movies, games, I always love running across mysterious ruins, and Stonehenge definitely was an influence on this. But yeah, I like finding things that hint at older civilizations, kind of a history before this.
Yeah.
And we're also always working with wizards and trying to get the lore out of the world of Faerun, so we can figure out what kind of stuff would be in this location on the map, and they give us little tidbits of what kind of things we can expect to find here. We're always talking with Jay, our narrative director, to try and weave story into the locations, and so it's always great when the environment artist can get that little nugget of information and then just go to town and make something that looks really interesting with a lot of history.
Absolutely.
In it.
Yeah, I was talking to Josiah earlier, and we both have sort of a similar nerdy passion when it comes to games. We like to go to places like this and just chill out with our characters and just sit and and just it's weird because you don't get to do that in games very often. So there's nothing wrong with environments looking particularly serene, or it doesn't have to be pounding action all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of quiet moments in Sword Coast, which I think you guys will like as well. All right, so let's move on. This one, what did I call this? I called this one Bog and a Path. I love that we named all of these. This is Bog and a Path. When I took this one, I was kind of curious what the fire was there on the left-hand side of the screen. So why don't you guys tell me what the fire's all about?
This is kind of a shot from a little bit earlier in the process, work in progress. I just put it there as just as an idea of cool lighting that we could kind of spread through. So since you like it, and I've heard a few other people kind of like that, it probably go back and put some torches in a few specific spots, maybe.
It's cool.
Yeah, we're often doing lighting tests like that just to kind of see how because the players, the effects, all that stuff has dynamic lights attached to them. So we have to be testing that and see how it affects the palette of the environment and just the objects in it.
But we could just pretend it's a magical
A
firehead thing.
flaming.
I love this whole area because it looks like it would smell terrible.
Doesn't it? It really does. That actually segues into the next picture really well. This one I referred to as swampy bottoms. And for those of us that live in Florida, swampy bottoms happen when you walk from your car to any place else in the summer. Yeah, so that's a Florida swampy bottoms joke. I practiced that joke, by the way.
That's really good. The timing was flawless.
Oh, look, people left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I really liked looking around the area around the Evermoors and kind of exploring these environments and seeing what was there. They are really kind of treacherous and cool to check out. So.
And all these really interesting plants in here, both Josiah and myself, all the environment artists, gather tons of reference when we start one of these areas, and Josiah had this folder full of reference and did these cool mashups of plants, which just look very fitting for this fantasy realm, and they look like something that you can relate to, is seen in the world if you live in Florida, but then it's also something that's a little further out, and it gives you this nice feel.
I looked through hundreds of bog and swamp pictures from every source, and then you try to find things that are actually interesting about a bog or a swamp.
Yeah, it is cool to see how much you guys put into.
And again, here, you can't see, but there are ambient creatures running around. Just things to give you kind of immerse you a little bit more in the environment.
Yeah, the water's moving. There's the tall grass is swaying. And
it's cool. Let's check out some concept-y stuff. So this is the first time we are actually. You guys are the first to hear about this.
Yeah.
So.
As we work with wizards quite frequently, we have weekly calls with them, and when we told them the locations that we'd like to go in the game, one of those places was the Durgar, the Grey Dwarf city of Gracklstugh, and they sent us some of the concept that they were working on, and so we used that to inform what then our internal concepts artists would generate, so that the world builders have the information they need to get started. And these are just some initial building designs for the Durgar. The interesting shapes. Everything was very stoic and cold, because the Durgar are all about working, nothing else. So,
working and being mean. That's pretty much it.
Angry little dwarfs.
Awesome. So it's a good concept. So what's next on the list here?
So then this is our internal concept artist, Richard Livingston, did this really cool, this is early visual development for just some of the formations that you might see in the Underdark, specifically around that area. And they're all about using the earth and smelting it down, and so this is a big mound of it's basically a kiln that they use. Might see this in the game somewhere.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then this piece is an overview of the whole basically city of Gracklstugh, and that's actually one little small part. And then so from that concept art that we kind of do in the beginning, we send it over to Wizards. They take a look at it and say yeah, that looks great, or work on this a little bit more, and then we try and align all that up so that we're basically building the universe that you guys are reading about and playing in the modules. So we want to try and get as close to what everyone thinks that should be as possible. And then once we have this concept, then our environment team takes it and goes to town on it. Yeah,
it's cool. I mean, from what I'm understanding, we're doing a lot of world firsts. A lot of Faerun firsts in this game, which is, as a fan of D&D, it's really cool to see that happen.
Yeah, there's been a lot of other D&D games, but we are trying to push to areas that haven't quite been explored in those games, so it should be very interesting for every D&D fan.
All right, so we have another screen here. This one I love just because there's a lot of motion happening here, which we'll show off in video form sooner rather than later. But you can see in the background on the top left, the hammers are actually striking those anvils, and the forges are working. So there's a lot of, there's just a lot going on. And also you can see, if you look toward the center of the screen, you can see a humanoid there. And so it kind of gives you a sense of the scale of what you're looking at. So this environment's pretty darn big.
Yeah, the camera's zoomed out quite a bit here, like that, so you can see the gameplay areas. And a lot of these buildings, in fact, almost all of them have doors on them that you can go in and you can explore the interiors, speak to the citizens, and get quests and side quests and all
that. Is kind of
stuff.
cool. Yeah, there's a lot of interiors you can go through and find things, cause trouble. Really cool. I'm seeing here Misty Mountain Forges confirmed, and lava confirmed, and concepts confirmed.
You guys are quick.
You guys are funny. All right, let's move on. So this is, I just loved how this was all laid out, and you can kind of imagine, combing through here with your party and making your way down into the city. Yeah. That was cool. And of course, once again, lava is confirmed.
Yeah, one of our artists, Jeff Panic, who's not quite on the panel here today, did a lot of this area. So it's he was the Underdark Dwarven master for this, and it's really, this area is all really cool because as you're going deep down into the Underdark, you're going through lots of elevation change, and we tried to build as much of that as possible into the environment, so you really get that sense of depth, and then there's still a ton of just kind of Underdark wilderness to explore as well. Yeah. And random things happen.
Yeah. Stuff and things.
Yeah.
All right.
Things to find.
There is a little baddie here. We will not announce the little baddie yet, but if you squint your eyes, you might be able to see something that we haven't quite announced yet. So a creature of some sort is in this shot. But again, I just kind of wanted to give you guys a sense of scale and a sense of size, and kind of show you some of the places that you will be visiting. So I thought this one was actually really cool. Yeah. We'll move on before I get in trouble. All right.
So this is more concept that we're confirming that we do use to make the game.
Concept art confirmed.
Yeah, so this is a shot of kind of like an Underdark area. We were trying to figure out kind of like what the rock shapes would be as you travel down towards where you might encounter drow. So there's a lot of the drow design motifs that you'll see in like columns and floor panels and things like that throughout the environment. And this is a color study of one of those dungeons. Just kind of figuring out like the palette again, adding some mysticism into the colors and why things are. And so then the environment artist like Alex did a lot of the Underdark area. He would take that and start generating his dungeons off of them.
Cool. What are we looking at here?
So this is a bit of the Underdark. I worked a lot on the Underdark and Middledark dungeons. It's been a blast because I'm a big fan of like dramatic lighting, and since these are way down below, we have very cool opportunities for just limited light sources and whatnot. So this again shows off a bit of the spider motif that we kind of see around the Underdark, and we see some of the rocks are more like purposefully chiseled. There's a little sarcophagus action happening in the middle there.
Which can be opened, confirmed.
Yes, confirmed.
Confirmed lootables.
Yes.
But what happens when it opens?
And then one of the cool parts, if you look at like the top left of this screenshot, we can see tiny spider legs, and it looks like we have a flying bat that you captured at just the right moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, there again.
That's what lunch breaks are for. Capturing bats mid-flight.
Ambient creatures confirmed.
Ambient creatures confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is probably one of my favorite shots. Just kind of showing the level of detail and a lot of the bioluminescent lighting going on here. So you had a lot of a lot of cool glowing mushrooms and things that are kind of housed in the Underdark. So what else can you kind of tell me about this one?
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun to work on. Just like you mentioned, we have like glowing crystals and mushrooms. Sometimes we use that to guide the player along the path, and sometimes it just kind of looks cool as a secondary light source. And this is, very creepy mood, very atmospheric, a lot of mist rising, and we have some poor souls there in the torture cages. So yeah, it's been a blast to work on this.
Yeah, it's cool to see just how much is going on in a single screen. So when you guys, when we're showing off these in motion, I think you guys will be really happy. These guys have been working insanely hard to make the game, visually impressive. So I think we have some cool stuff. Well, let's jump back, and then I'll kind of explain what we're doing next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to We're going to show you a little clip that we recorded that deals with the sculpting of the Belhifet statue. So if you guys are interested in design at all, or maybe want to get some insight into why Belhifet looks the way he does, I'm talking to Adam Schumann on this clip, and hang out and enjoy, and then I'll be back with a little bit more news at the end, and then that's it, we're done. So, clip one of those. Hey everybody, it's me, Ash. I'm the community manager here for Sword Coast Legends, and I'm here with Adam Schumann, who was the sculptor on the Belhifet statue. How you doing, Adam?
Awesome, yourself?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. It's been a super busy day here at the office, but this is a nice little break to hang out and get to talk to you for a bit. So how did you actually get involved with the project, and what was your role on the project?
I actually got hit up by Chris through another sculptor friend, Coastline, and they were looking for someone to do some high-res sculpting on another piece for the game. Through that process, and that went really well, you guys pitched me another project, and I was really excited about it, and it was super awesome, so I was happy to jump on board. And I got to do all the high-res sculpting for that and the other piece.
That's amazing. I love the other piece. That's great. Yeah, I can't wait to show them the other piece. But the thing that's really cool is one of the initiatives we had with the community was to allow the community to choose which pose that the Belhifet statue would have, and the voting just ended, and pose number 3 won. So we'll flash a little picture here of pose number 3. But pose number 3 was the big winner, which it was like a really close race. I think it was separated by less than 10 votes in the end, or something crazy like that. But how did you, in the beginning of your career, how did you actually get involved with character modeling in the first place?
Well, I went to school in 2000, and so in 2002 I started working in video games and started off as a general 3D artist doing cinematics or character work, prop work, and then I just tried to focus on characters, and over time I just started doing them specifically, and that was in the days of just 3D Max and Maya and stuff, and then when ZBrush came around, everybody was trying to ramp up on that, which is a very high-end sculpting program, which is more like real-world sculpting.
Yeah.
Instead of just moving vertices.
So do you actually do you sculpt with traditional materials, like traditional sculpting, or are you strictly all digital now?
I do. I did some sculpting back in high school.
Yeah.
Once you get in college, they didn't really push us to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
In 2011, I started picking it up again, and it's super awesome. I mean, guys that do that with their hands without the ability to mirror something like a hand or something like that.
Yeah, it's really impressive, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Quick story about sculpting in high school. I used to love doing it too. I'm not professional anyway, but one of the things I used to like to do in sculpting class was actually, how you're not supposed to have any air bubbles.
Right.
Well, I would always sculpt things with air bubbles on purpose, like something that looked like a grenade, and then I'd put it in the kiln, and it would just explode, and that'd cause all sorts of havoc. Yeah, I was, one of those not so great kids in high school, but that was when you said that sculpting in high school. I was like, oh yeah, I used to do that, and I was really, I loved it. Like, I've actually made a couple of my own little D&D minis just with Sculpey and stuff like that. So.
Oh, totally.
Yes,
it's Sculpey. It's great if you're just gonna do a one-off. I've been trying to do my own casting and molding, and I learned all that. So I can make duplicates of something that I end up actually taking all the way.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, Belhifet and your other work, how do you actually start off with a character in 3D? So what's the beginning process like? And I'm asking this genuinely because I have no idea. So
I can get kind of detailed, so I'll just try and do a vague shoot, but a lot of times people will use something called Z-spheres, which is almost like, it ends up looking like bones, and then you can turn that into a mesh. I actually started with a sphere and just kind of started sculpting the head, which is kind of a no-no. Usually people like to try and do the whole big broad thing, kind of like with the drawing, so you don't get really excited and just do the head, and then by the time you get to the hands and feet, you're like, I'm bored with this. I, however, did decide to go ahead and knock out the head and horns and stuff first, and then go onto the body, and every time I would kind of do a big section like that, I would send it off to Chris and you guys to get critiques and feedback. So while y'all are kind of doing that internal, I would be knocking out the rest of it, the body, and then once the body was all approved, then we went on to armor. And at other jobs I had done, I would end up doing some in Maya or some in Max, like do the base mesh, do the whole body, do the armor. But in ZBrush nowadays, it's gotten so advanced that you can just do everything in there. And so I just, once everything was approved, I did the armor and painted it, did everything completely in ZBrush.
Oh wow. So would you say ZBrush is like your preferred digital sculpting tool right now? Is that like what your go-to is?
Yeah, that's pretty much the start and end of most of it until I need to turn it into a game res object, which I didn't have to do for you guys, but a lot of times that's what you end up doing.
That's cool. So from beginning to end, what was the process of creating the Belhifet statue like? So what was your workflow like when you first got the the project to the very end? I mean, not blow by blow, but like the Cliff Notes version of what it was like.
Right. So yeah, I started with a Z-sphere, which is just a ball, and they have something that's called Dynamesh, which allows you to sit there and sculpt on it, and then you can reinitialize it, and that'll give you more geometry. And I would just work on that, and then step up another iteration, which divides all of the geometry, and so it allows me to have more detail. And then I can do it again, and allows me to have more detail. So I would send that off and get critiques and feedback when there was like about a day or two, because that's usually the money maker. Everyone likes to kind of really make sure that that's nice and tight before you move on. And then once that was good, we went on and did the whole body and got that situated to where we thought that was pretty good. And then since the big thing was we knew we wanted it for the statue, that was the main overall idea. So we had the body, and then we posed it out, and then from that pose we were able to see areas that weren't exactly what the concept had, which people really loved, and Jason did an amazing job with that concept. So once we had that pose in there, there was paint overs and critiques from Chris, and then we would get all the muscles and all the anatomy to be just right for that first pose. And once that was there, everybody had liked it and it was approved, we went ahead and went back to the original T-pose, which is the base setup, and took all of those changes and applied it to that.
That's cool.
And then that allowed us to, since we had that first one, then we could go into the second one and pose that out, and that already had all the anatomy changes and sizing changes and everything that we liked from the first one. And so it was a lot easier to get that second one. And then the same thing with the third one. And the only stuff we really had to completely resculpt was like the fire coming from the axe, especially in the second one, since it's doing like a really awesome kind of whip thing. And then the wings were something that ended up having to change a little bit, just because the shapes were a lot different.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you end up having a favorite pose?
I actually like pose 2.
Did you? Yeah, pose 2 almost won. It was really close. There's a lot of debate here in the office too as to which one everyone liked, but 3 ended up taking the prize.
Yeah, 3 was awesome too. I think I personally was hoping. I don't think that there were videos that, well, at least whenever I got to see it, there weren't videos put up. But I think maybe turnarounds might have made people sway a little bit more between 2 and 3.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Maybe next time. Maybe the next one.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought 3 was pretty awesome. I mean, if I get to get a collector's one, sounds like
yeah.
I'll be totally happy to get number 3 as well.
Yeah, me too. I'll take whatever they give me. Well, awesome, Adam. Thank you so much, man. And where can people find you if you want to give out your social media and stuff? Do you have a Twitter or anything like that?
I don't have a Twitter, but I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
You can just look up Adam Schumann or Adam R. Schumann. I think there's like 2 or 3 other of us. And then you can always go to www.one-long.com and see all my work and stuff on there, and you can hit up my email through there.
Awesome, man. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Have some fire, everybody. Oh. All right, and we're back. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As you guys can see, pose number 3 is the winner. So if you ordered the version of the game with the statue, whoa, I didn't notice that. It caught me off guard, man. If you ordered the version of the game that comes with the statue, you're going to be getting pose number 3. And like I said at the beginning of the show, it is in production now, so we're excited to see it. None of us have actually seen the physical copy yet, so we're eager here to get our hands on it and to throw it on the tabletop and let our characters attack it and stuff like that. So it's going to be pretty cool. So that's that's the bulk of today's show. I do want to give an announcement, so I am allowed to say what's on next week's show. So for those of you that are here, next week we're going to do a big sort of in-depth analysis of the characters, the companions at Sword Coast Legends. We're going to do a little bit of story news, some stuff that you have not heard before, and we'll have the narrative director Jay Turner on the show, and he'll be talking about how he came up with some of the characters and and some of the fun stuff that you have not heard about yet. So if you're interested in lore and interested in what the personalities are like, the companion personalities are like in Sword Coast Legends, then definitely tune in next week. That's going to be an exciting show for you guys. As always, you guys can find us on the old Twitter, and it's at Sword Coast, and you can go to our Facebook page, and that is /Sword Coast on Facebook, and you can go to subscribe here, and it's Sword Coast Legends on Twitch TV, and we'll be doing a show pretty much every Thursday from now until the end. And big thanks. I'm not going to actually applaud because it's too loud into the mics, but thanks to our esteemed panelists here for hanging out with us and showing us the hard work that they're doing. And thank you guys so much for all of your patience. I know a lot of you guys are eager to see stuff and stuff that we haven't revealed yet. Just hang in there. I promise it's coming soon, and it's going to really make you pretty happy. So definitely tune in. If you have any questions for me, I'm going to hang out in the channel and answer some questions up into for a while. And as always, you guys can go to our forums, our Sword Coast Legends forums. You can hit me up directly there. You can leave me a message there, and I'll answer them, or just leave a post there. I'm on there every single day answering stuff and chatting with people. So please drop by and say hi. We have a pretty awesome community of people that are growing and flourishing and high-fiving. I didn't even notice your glasses either. I'm in the zone.
Well,
anyway,
crazy guys.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with more Sword Coast excitement.
Thank you.